Welcome to Crimepedia. I am your host this week. My name is Morgan. I hope you are having a wonderful day. And with me, as always, is my very lovely co-host. She's the host every other week. It's Cherry. Hello, Cherry.
Hello everyone. What a week it has been here in England for crazy news stuff. We've had the Lionesses, unfortunately, were knocked out of the World Cup right at the final by Spain. And then we've also had today in our news, it's been full of the news that I've forgotten her name. We have to just start that again. Hang on.
Okay.
Lucy Lepty, that was it. Okay, and so this today we've had the news that Lucy Letby has now been given her life sentences for the murders of the small babies that were in her care from 2015. That's been all over the news in England. If you're not from England, this lady was in charge of it, or was working in a neonatal unit as a nurse, and babies began dying under her care. And it's now been found that she injected them with milk and injected them with insulin and injected them with air, and unfortunately 7 babies died, and she is accused and now charged with another 6 attempted murders, and she's now been given life sentences for each murder, and she will never be out of prison again, which is the best news that we could have hoped for. But that's the news in England at the moment. I can't hear you. You're on mute, I think.
What just an absolutely horrible person. That's just evil.
Oh, it's just, there's just no excuse for it whatsoever. There's no excuse. And it was very cowardly of her because she wasn't even in court for the decision today. She wasn't even there. So she didn't have to face anybody, and she should have been made to stand there and face their families.
Yeah, when you told me about that, I'm just shocked. I didn't know people had the option of not showing up for a court date or for a sentencing.
It's just horrific. She should
shouldn't
have
be
been made
allowed.
to stand there.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
She should be made to stand there and face those families. It's horrific. It's absolutely horrific. And it's news that really, we had the news of it a while ago, but obviously we've been waiting. We had the news when she was arrested. And obviously it all hit the papers then that she was arrested because it's not something that's common, a woman murderer to start with, and a murderer of babies, newborn babies that are in a neonatal unit. It's just not something that is very heard of very often here. And I think, I do believe this, I might not be right, but I do believe she is now, I think, Britain's most prolific child killer. I believe she killed the most babies. It's just awful, absolutely awful.
It's horrible.
It's horrible news from England today. We do have a very, very nice email from a lady who absolutely loves map. And I thought I would just tell you about this just in case you hadn't read it yet. This is Maria, and she was explaining to me that you can go onto Google Maps and you can go through their back catalogue and you can have a look at, you can see more dates. So you can see, like, it probably won't be helpful in some of my cases because they're such a long time ago, but in some of yours it might help. So a massive hello to Maria. She's from Fareham in the UK, and she loves map just like you.
Well, everyone should love map. Map is absolutely fantastic.
We need to send her one of your stickers, one of your I Love Map stickers.
Should.
So when I have some of those, I will send one over to you. Also, we have a new review. So we've got a review from Jojo Bina01 from Apple Podcasts, and she says, I'm guessing it's a girl, but maybe not. Cherry and Morgan are a dynamic duo. I love that. Every episode is interesting. Being American, I love listening to Cherry's accent. Why, thank you. And I look forward to each episode, and I highly recommend it. So Jojo Bina01 via Apple Podcasts, we officially love you. Thank you very, very much.
Oh, thank you. That's very lovely. Thank you for your review. And we appreciate all reviews. So if you have not done
Yes,
so,
we
please
do.
hop on and leave a 5-star review for us, and we would absolutely appreciate it.
We would, and we'd love you forever. It helps bump us up the charts a little bit, and that obviously helps out with the podcast. So thank you. Thank you to everyone that's taken the time to do that. We do appreciate it. We do happy dances every time we get one.
So, Cherry,
So,
I've been kind of falling into your trend of older cases.
okay.
This case that I have for you today is one that just hit a unfortunate milestone. It's been 50 years, and this is the disappearance of Mitchel Wesier and Bonnie Bickwit. In July 1973, a young couple had plans to attend an outdoor music festival showcasing some of their favorite bands. Though it remains uncertain whether the pair managed to make it to the show, what is clear is that they never returned home. Now, 50 years later, friends and family continue their quest for explanations regarding the events that unfolded. This is Crimepedia, and this is the disappearance of Mitchel Wesier and Bonnie Bickwit. All right, Cherry. Mitchel Wesier, a 17-year-old, was a remarkably gifted and adored student in the 11th grade at John Dewey High School, located in Brooklyn, New York. He had a passion for baseball, photography, and a deep appreciation for the iconic band, the Grateful Dead. This was evidenced by his choice of naming his dog Casey Jones after one of the Grateful Dead's timeless songs. Noted by his peers for his fearlessness and a touch of rebellion, Mitchel's character was truly unique. It was at John Dewey High School where Mitchel met his girlfriend, Bonnie Bickwit, a 15-year-old of remarkable qualities. Bonnie was both kind-hearted and remarkably intelligent, with an unwavering determination that defined her. Her spirit was akin to that of a free soul, radiating warmth and a profound love for music, particularly that of the Allman Brothers. During the summer of 1973, Mitchel found employment at a local photography studio situated on Coney Island. Bonnie was able to get a position as a parent's helper at Camp Wellmet, a renowned summer camp nestled in the Catskill regions, approximately 100 miles north of New York City in Narrowsburg. Despite having been a camper at Wellmet for several years prior to becoming a counselor, this particular summer seemed to have been very different for Bonnie. While she loved being a camper there, as an employee, she wasn't very happy. She felt taken advantage of and exploited. She would complain about being made to work up to 16 hours a day. On July 26th, a letter written by Bonnie was received by Stuart Carton, Mitchel's childhood best friend. In the letter, Bonnie expressed being bored and feeling lonely. She
Aw.
indicated that she had been contemplating quitting her current job. She would also ask about the possibility of finding a job at the camp where Stuart was employed. An outdoor rock festival called Summer Jam took place on Saturday, July 28th at the Watkins Glen Grand Prix Raceway. The lineup included iconic bands such as the Allman Brothers Band, the Grateful Dead, and the band. Despite only initially selling 1,500, I said that wrong. Despite initially selling only 150,000 advance tickets for the single day event, an astonishing number of almost 200,000 fans arrived in the village of Watkins Glen more than 24 hours ahead of the scheduled performance.
Wow.
Now, eventually, the event evolved into an impromptu free show, drawing an estimated crowd of 600,000 fans by Saturday.
Wow.
Now, to this day, it remains one of the most highly attended concerts in U.S. history.
500,000 people.
Oh
That's
yeah, half a million. You have a
crazy.
500,000 people. Oh no, it's
Yeah,
absolutely insane.
it is
I mean,
insane.
luckily, I mean
Brilliant.
the area, the raceway is huge, so it was able to
Mm,
fit everyone. But I mean,
mm.
I couldn't imagine being at something that large with that many
That's
people.
a lot of people.
I think I'd end up very claustrophobic. Like
Yeah, me too.
how
I wouldn't
how
think
do you
I'd
have room
like
to
that.
breathe? Oh no,
Yeah.
not at all. Now, hoping to join the crowd was Mitchel. Now, upon learning about the upcoming concert, Mitchel's original plan was to attend alongside his friend Larry Marion, who had purchased tickets for both of them. However, due to concerns over Larry's safety, his mother intervened, preventing him from attending. Mitchell would then turn to Bonnie, inviting her to accompany him to accompany blah 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 to accompany him. Why can't I say that word? Mitchell would then turn to Bonnie, inviting her to accompany him instead. Now, despite the pleas of his mother Shirley, asking for him to reconsider attending, Mitchell
Mm.
remained determined to go. Before he left, Shirley wanted to give Mitchell some money so that he wouldn't have to hitchhike. But before she could do so, Mitchell would leave the house with only $25 in his pocket, which he intended to use towards the bus ride to Narrowsburg and then the taxi fare to reach the campsite. In order to attend the festival, Bonnie had sought time off for the weekend. However, her boss declined her request, prompting her to quit her job. She informed her employer that she would return after the concert to collect her belongings and to get her last paycheck. On the morning of Friday, July 27th, the couple began their journey from Camp Wilmette to Watkins Glen. Their plan was to hitchhike the 155-mile distance to the event. Both were dressed in blue jeans and t-shirts, with Mitchell also having a gray and olive green plaid flannel shirt and carrying his valuable camera. Their final sighting was along State Route 97, a 70-mile stretch of road that intersected Camp Wilmette. A passing truck driver offered them a ride, and they expressed their gratitude when he dropped them off shortly thereafter. Now, this truck driver would ultimately become the last confirmed person to have seen them.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that this truck driver picked them up outside of Camp Wilmette and just drove them into Narrowsburg. So from Narrowsburg, they were going to then try to find another ride to
Mm.
make it up to Watkins Glen. There's been no confirmed sightings of them in Narrowsburg. We don't know if anyone picked them up. We don't know who picked them up. All we know is that this truck driver did, and that's the last confirmed sighting of them.
Okay.
Now, as Sunday came without Mitchell's return, his mother contacted Stuart Carton to ask about his whereabouts. Now, Stuart would indicate that he had not heard or seen from Mitchell. The next day, Mitchell's father, Sidney, and his sister Susan made the 5-hour drive from Brooklyn to Watkins Glen. They would meet with Schuyler County Police, who initially treated the situation as romantic runaways who would eventually make their way back home. After giving police a photograph of Mitchell and Bonnie, Sidney and Susan would then proceed to Watkins Glen Gorge in search of any sign of them. Now, Bonnie's parents, Theodore and Ray, were on vacation in Cape Cod at the time. They had no idea that Bonnie had even been planning on going to the Summer Jam concert, let alone know that she was missing. They would learn about her disappearance that Tuesday when they returned to their home in Brooklyn. They received a call from someone at the camp looking for Bonnie, who explained that she had gone away for the weekend and had not come back. Obviously, this left her parents absolutely horrified.
Mm.
Now, Ted and Ray
Yeah.
would immediately get into their car and they would drive to Camp Wilmette. They would then head to the village of Monticello to report Bonnie's disappearance to the sheriff's office. However, their concerns were never given any serious consideration. The sheriff there said that since Bonnie was 15 years old and had quit her job to go to a concert, they believed that she was just another teenager who had left voluntarily, and that they would just be wasting their time looking for her,
Oh no.
which is absolutely insane.
Is it a big police department, or is that a
No,
small, so it's a small one?
small.
Okay.
No, no. I mean,
Okay.
so really, this is upstate New York. This Narrowsburg area, it's tiny. So Monticello, which is it's the
Mm.
county seat of Sullivan County, where Camp Wilmette is
Yeah.
located. I think, like, even today, it probably has less than 10,000 people that live in this town, this village, and so usually the county
So
seat
could
is
this
usually
be
the largest.
because Oh, okay. Could this
So
be because they
yeah,
didn't have the
it's usually.
resources? Is that why?
I mean, you could say that. Now, I will say that they had some reasoning to believe, okay, maybe, she'll come back.
Yeah.
So apparently, while Theodore and Ray were on vacation, it's believed that Bonnie did go home at some point to collect money, but she only had about
Right.
$80 in savings. right? So I mean, it's not like she had
Okay,
a whole
yeah.
lot of money.
No.
So they were like, okay, well, she went to this concert with her boyfriend. She went and got some money. She'll come home when she's ready. That's what it kind of seems like to me. I
Yeah.
mean, e- it's shitty because like we look back now with hindsight and say, well, they should
Yeah.
have done everything they could right away.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's 1973. It's a set. She's with her boyfriend. He's 17. She's 15.
Yeah.
It's only been two
Yeah.
days or 3 days since the concert. Um, let's not. I
Yeah.
mean, I
You
can
can see,
understand where
yeah.
they're coming from. If it
Yeah.
was my child, though, and knowing my child's personality, if it takes me, driving up the 3 hours or whatever it is
Yeah.
to this sheriff's office, something's wrong.
Yeah. I agree with you.
Something is wrong. So I would
Mhm.
want them to do everything in their power to help.
Of course.
So I can understand both sides. Now they would also
Yeah,
find out
you
that
know your
3 days
child.
before. No, you know your child. This is the other thing
Mm.
too. So 3 days before she went missing, Bonnie actually had mailed a letter to her parents in which she spoke about how much she was enjoying the freedom she had at Camp Wilmette, and had hoped that her parents would give her the same freedom when she returned home at the end of the season. Then she also spoke of wanting to travel, giving
Right.
her parents hope that she was out there doing that, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
because of that, her parents are try to tell themselves that she was
She's
fine,
fine.
and
Yeah, she's
she
fine.
was simply trying to assert her independence, and that she would
Yeah.
be back before school started in fall.
Yeah, wishful thinking kind of thing.
And I think both families kind of did that, where they're like,
Yeah.
they know their kids, and like they know that okay, um, yeah. So Mitchell, he was going into his last year in high school, and this is not just ordinary high school. This is um, it's a it's a I don't want to call it alternative high school. It's kind of it's alternative high school that's for gifted children, right? So everyone that
Oh,
goes
okay.
there is very intelligent. They are really good students. Mitchell was a really good student. He had already had plans of attending college in the Brooklyn area, so he'd already been accepted. So there was no so to his parents, it was like there's no way that he would just get up
Just
and leave
disappear. Yeah, I was just
and
about to
not come
say
back
that
for
to you.
school.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
Now, unfortunately, when you know school starts and your kids aren't home, something's obviously not right. They're missing.
Yeah.
There's no reason that they would just get up and leave and not contact anyone. There's no reason that they would
No.
leave and not come back and go back to school and like finish school up. So obviously it's something that's amiss here. Now there are rumors that happened in the school that the two might have run away to elope. um, Apparently, there was rumors that the two had like exchanged rings earlier in the summer before Bonnie went off to camp. So a lot of their friends and a lot of their classmates thought, okay, they just decided to go and get married and start their life somewhere else. But this is a
Nah, that's just
17-year old and
that's just
15
high
year old.
school. Yeah.
How
I
are
don't
they?
believe
They
that.
don't have. How would they
No.
be able to survive? They don't have.
Yeah.
They don't have any resources. They're not going to do that, right?
And he's a gifted student. I mean, they're not stupid kids. You know,
Yeah.
it's not as if they're silly. They sound pretty clever. They sound pretty smart. So I don't think that they would
Mhm.
be silly enough to just leave with nothing. $80 is going to get you nowhere.
Yeah. Now, this also is a little bit of a tricky situation when it comes to the case. So, you
Hmm.
really have three locations that are could be involved in any sort of investigation.
Okay.
First, you have Watkins Glen, which is up in Schuyler County. So, their plan was to go there and make it to Watkins Glen for this concert. So, of course, that was their plan. There's no evidence that they ever made it there. So,
Okay.
they really don't have at this point, they don't really have anything to do with the case. I mean, um, they're not investing any time into it. Second,
No.
you have Sullivan County. So Sullivan
Yeah.
County would actually be the lead in any sort of investigation to this missing persons case because it is the last known and verified
Yes.
location of
Yeah.
the pair.
That
Okay.
makes sense.
But also, since both teenagers were residents of New York City, the NYPD was expected to provide assistance in any sort of investigation.
Okay.
However, it doesn't seem like this collaboration ever happened. It didn't seem like anything really happened with this investigation because, to be honest,
Okay.
I mean, first off, there really was an investigation. Um,
No.
there was information gathered. There were case files put together for these two teens, but there was never an active investigation in the case.
Mm.
Now, because they were facing this lack of support from law enforcement, the families opted to assume control of the situation. Right? They initiated their own efforts by starting out with handing out thousands of flyers all across
Oh,
Sullivan and
bless
Schuyler
them.
counties.
Yeah.
They placed advertisements in alternative newspapers nationwide, appealing to the missing teens to establish contact. They ended up engaging a private investigator, and they extended their reach to include visits and communications with hippie communities, Native
Yeah.
American reservations, as well as various cult groups. So
Okay.
with this concert, Summer Jam, you have a lot of different people coming together. Yeah, you're gonna have hippies there. You're gonna have different religious sects that are gonna have a presence at this concert. So they're doing everything they can, and they're reaching out to anyone possible to see if they have any sort of information.
Yeah.
They established contacts with some religious organizations such as the Hare Krishna sect, as
Oh,
well as
wow.
the Church of Unification, or the Unification
Wow.
Church, which is often referred to as the Moonies.
The Moonies.
But
Yeah.
listen to this. This is crazy. But Mitchell's sister Susan went to even greater lengths, and she decided to take an undercover approach. And she did this by venturing into the Children of God cult to gather any
Wow.
potential leads.
Okay.
So, like, they were determined to try to figure out what happened here.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, I don't mess with cults. I would never mess with cults. But to go that far and to like ingrain yourself into those communities, that says a lot. Like,
That's the sort
something's
of thing I
wrong,
would
and
that's the
and
sort of
you
thing
are
I would do.
determined. Oh, you would
Yeah, that sounds
absolutely
just like
do
the sort of
that.
thing I would do. Yeah.
You would absolutely do
That's the
that.
sort of thing I would do. Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's. I mean, the the lengths that you go for your loved ones. I mean, you have to.
Well,
I mean, if
you
you think
would.
that's
You
what you need to
would.
do, you have to.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
would
I
do
mean,
it.
you're not
You
getting
would.
help anywhere else.
No. You gotta do what
You're
you've gotta
doing this on
do.
your own.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Now, without any viable options and without law enforcement and private organizations offering any assistance. So this is a time before you have, all these private organizations that are helping, missing,
Yeah.
families of missing people. You don't have the national organizations that help. Really, they're on their own
Yeah.
because they don't have the support that they would have in today's age. The families, of course, found themselves rapidly running out of money and resources.
Yeah, of course.
Now, the search for Mitchell and Bonnie ultimately faced a real grave reality, which compelled the family to reluctantly bring the search to a close. And they, at that point, attempted to resume their lives as best as possible. I mean, you have to. You kind of have. At some point, you have to kind of go on with your life and just hope that
Yeah.
one day they'll show up. Which
Mm.
is terrible to think of, but I mean, money's not endless, right? You only have
That's right. You've got to
a
pay the
finite amount of
bills.
money. You have to pay the bills. You have to look at you, and if you are the parents of these teens, you have family that you need to look out for, right? So Mitchell has
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
Bonnie has family. So you have to make sure that you're taking care of y- your whole family as well as
Yes.
these
Yeah.
two that obviously need help because they're missing. They're somewhere out there. But you need to take time, and you can't run out of money, and you can't send your family into bankruptcy or homelessness.
No.
It's unfortunate, but it's the fact of the matter, right?
Mm.
Now, because they're not out there and they're not able to continue with their uh, handing out information and making contacts. Unfortunately, the story of Mitchell and Bonnie would begin to fade from the attention of the public and the media. So for many years, it was an absolutely just cold case.
Yeah.
No one was talking about it. No one was looking into it. It just sat there collecting dust, really. Now, in 1984, the Wesier family moved to Arizona, in part to Sidney Wesier having asthma. So, in order to help with his asthma, they decided to move to Arizona, where there's a lot less humidity and it's a lot easier for him to breathe, obviously. But but even in doing so, they chose to continue to pay $2.39 each month to the New York Telephone Company in order to keep their name and Arizona telephone
Oh,
number in the Brooklyn
yeah.
phone directory in hopes that Mitchell would someday return.
Remember his
So,
home number, yeah, and call home. Bless him.
you
That
know,
not
in
knowing for all
in
those years just must be awful.
no, no, absolutely. I mean, while you try to move on with your life, you can't. I mean,
No. There's a piece
how
missing,
can
isn't there? There's a
you?
piece of you missing. You don't know where that piece
Yeah.
is. It's not like you've had the you've had the answer that something's happened to them and unfortunately they've passed away. It's the fact that you don't
Hmm.
know. What if they're out there? What if they are concussed, and don't remember who they are? What if they're living a whole new life? What if somebody's got them and kept them hostage? Or all that stuff would run through your mind as a parent or as a sibling. It would run through your mind. If it was
Yeah.
my brother, I'd be thinking, like, what if he's out there and he needs me? What if I just give up and
Mm.
he's counting on me not to give up on him? So that must be really hard for them. It's a horrible thing to be facing.
No, absolutely. I mean,
I mean, they know in their own
it's
minds that they didn't just run away. They know that. The
yeah,
parents know.
yeah.
You know your kids. You know if your kid's likely to just run away. And it doesn't sound like that to me. So they know something
I
is
don't.
not right.
Yeah, I don't see these two as being a pair that would run away. I
No.
don't. I just don't see it. I mean,
No.
um, they don't. They didn't really have. They didn't have a reason. They didn't have a reason to
No.
run away.
That's right. They're looking
They
forward to going back to school and they're making plans.
yeah,
They've got no reason to just run.
exactly. Now in 1987, this plan or this keeping their number in the phone directory
Yeah.
seemed to have panned out
Okay.
when a phone call was received by Sydney. Now, when he answered, an operator told him that he had a collect call from Bonnie and asked if he would accept the charges. Now,
Uh-huh.
obviously, he's really excited, and he told the operator that he would. But
Definitely.
after a few seconds of silence, the operator said that the other party had hung up.
Oh
Now, if it
no.
was Bonnie, she made no other attempts to contact Mitch's parents or her own. So, unfortunately, this seems like just a case of just someone making a cruel prank.
Yeah. And they've thought twice about it and hung up.
Yeah. Now, what I will say about that and this is someone that would have to know about the case, right?
Yeah.
Um, I don't think it's going to be any of their friends that are doing it. Maybe it's a kid that's at Dewey High School now, and they heard about, hey, did you hear about the two kids that went missing 14 years ago? And they decide, oh well,
Let's
let's
try
call
the
it the parents
number.
because the number,
Yeah.
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 If you're a kid out there listening, don't do that. Don't torment families like that.
No.
It's not right. It's not okay.
No. It's not.
Now, in 1998, this was the 25th anniversary of their disappearance.
Mhm.
A, I'll call this an absolutely startling revelation emerged. Okay. It was discovered that the New York City Police Department's missing person squad had, early in the investigation, lost the original case file. Okay.
Okay.
Now, this was very significant because the file contained a roster of potential witnesses, detailed investigator notes, and worst of all, irreplaceable dental records of the teenagers.
How do you lose a case file? How? How do you lose it? Surely it should stay in a police station. You shouldn't be taking it home.
Mm-hmm.
So how the hell do you lose
Yeah.
someone's case file?
Yeah. No,
It's
exactly.
ridiculous.
Well, guess what? They're not the only ones that lost the case file. Sullivan County lost
Oh.
the case file too. Gone. Nothing.
It's
Now,
convenient.
it was, right? Now, in 1994, Sullivan County assigned a detective by the name of Anthony Suarez to the case. Around the same time, around 1998, he would admit to have taken absolutely no action in searching for any potential lost witnesses in the case. He also failed to make any attempt to reach out to the initial investigator of the case. So he was assigned the case and did absolutely nothing
He
with it.
did sod all. So he did sod all for
Yes.
this family and for this
Nothing.
case. Great.
Exactly.
You definitely
Nothing.
want him on your
Right?
team.
Yeah. Hey, guess what? Not to be outdone, the Schuyler County Sheriff's Office would also express regret over their failure to do any job. So they failed to police this case at all, right? This failure included failing to enter Mitchell and Bonnie's names into the FBI's missing person database.
This is ridiculous. This is completely inexcusable. This is just not this is
Yeah.
not one police force failing. This is three police forces
3
completely failing
for
in an
25
absolutely
years.
huge way.
For
Absolutely huge. I know that there wasn't the databases that we
25
have
years.
now. There wasn't
Yeah.
it wasn't computerized like it is now, but someone is responsible for those case files. That's someone's job. And those someones aren't doing
Mhm.
their job properly. Did they do an internal investigation into this?
I do not believe they did. No.
Oh, wow. This sucks. This
No.
absolutely sucks.
So put it this way, so for 25 years,
Nothing was
either
done.
A, nothing happened. Either A, well, I don't want to say either. No one cared. No one in law enforcement cared that these two teenagers were missing. And B, no one really outside of law enforcement, well, these three jurisdictions, knew that there were two potentially missing teenagers. So no one was
See,
looking
that's
for
the
them.
thing. That's the thing. I don't think it's the fact that nobody cared. I think it's the fact that nobody knew about them. No one had any idea
Yes.
that this was going on because the people they failed in the police departments to get this information out. So I don't think it's the fact
Mhm.
that nobody cared about it because generally police officers do their job because they care. This is
Mhm.
like human error of the most extreme example. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Let's say that you have two unidentified bodies, right? Somewhere
Yeah.
else in the country, outside of these jurisdictions.
Yeah.
How are they going to know? How are they going to know that these could be these two missing teenagers when they have no idea that they're missing?
That's right.
And
It's just
now
stupid.
we find out the case files are missing. How are you going to identify them?
Yeah. No
And
dental.
if two, yeah, no dental
It's
records,
crazy. It's absolutely
gone,
ridiculous. It's so
absolutely just gone.
frustrating. Imagine
It
having to sit
it really
down
is.
in front of the parents of those two kids and explain to them that you have just been absolutely you've just been I mean, I don't even know how to explain it. You've just been completely useless in the search for their
Hmm.
kids and you've done
Yeah,
absolutely nothing. How do you explain that to a family? That this is 25 years and your department has done nothing.
yeah,
It's
absolutely
atrocious. It's
nothing.
absolutely atrocious. There's no excuse for it.
These these families, these teenagers, they deserve better than that. Much better than that.
Oh,
It's
100%. 100% better.
I mean, I'm not saying that you go out and like you take everyone in your force and you put them out and you search nonstop for 25 years. I'm not saying that. You put in an effort. If you put in 10% more effort than what you actually did, that's something,
Do you know what? You
right?
just do your damn job. That's what you do. You do
Right.
your job. And
Yeah.
they have not done their job. They can't argue that they have because they haven't. They have not served those families at all. They've done nothing for those families.
And these are small communities.
Mm,
They cannot hide behind an excuse of, well, we're overwhelmed with the
no.
caseload. These are small communities.
And if you are overwhelmed, if this is something that you're not used to dealing with, then you find a police department that is. You find another police department that is used to this, that has the resources to do this, and you ask for
Mhm.
help. You don't just swipe it under the carpet or put that file down the back of a filing cabinet where no one's going to find it and hope to God that they go away. You do your best,
Yeah.
you know? How can you go to sleep at night knowing that you've just swept that away and those family have got no answers? It's just
Okay, so
ridiculous.
s- look at this. So as of the 2020 census,
Mm.
Schuyler County is the second least populous county in New York. It had just under 18,000 residents.
That's not a lot, is it?
That is
That's not a lot
nothing.
at all. That's a
That is
small.
nothing.
That's small.
Even so Sullivan County, they
Crazy.
have less than
Makes me
80,000
so
residents. So
mad.
these are, like I said, these are small
Yeah, really
communities. So
small.
they're not, yeah, it's unbelievable. Like they could have
Oh,
put some sort of effort into this, but they chose
yeah.
not to. They chose not to. Now, in the year 2000, a true crime television program titled Missing Persons debuted on MSNBC. Among their first cases highlighted on the show was the story of Mitchel and Bonnie. Now, during the airing of the episode in October 2000, a 51-year-old Rhode Island resident named Alan Smith stumbled upon the program while browsing through the TV channels. In seeing the photographs of Mitchel and Bonnie, described as the sole pair of potential attendees who had disappeared, his excitement grew. Now, Alan promptly turned to his wife and explained, "Honey, you won't believe this." He firmly believed that the images were those of two teenagers that he encountered during his journey back from Summer Jam in 1973.
Okay.
So, Alan Smith attended Southern or Summer Jam,
Yeah.
and he sees these two pictures, and he immediately recognized them and said, "Oh, I know who they are. I saw them, and I interacted with them." Right now, he attempted to contact the phone number provided at the conclusion of the episode, but he did encounter a lot of difficulty getting through. But
Okay.
despite these obstacles, he would continue to make multiple long distance calls from Rhode Island to New York until he successfully reached the appropriate office. So this is obviously someone that has something to say, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna just come up with a story, if you're gonna give up at some point. This is also like 2000. Long distance calls
And
were
why
not
would you
cheap back
bother?
then.
Yeah, why would you
Yeah, you
bother?
wouldn't bother.
You wouldn't bother if you were just making it up.
No, exactly. Right. So when he got through, he actually informed the investigators that he had encountered Mitchel and Bonnie as they were hitchhiking back home due to their inability to make it anywhere near the concert. So they were apparently, so according to his story, they didn't make it to the concert. They ended up, not making it all the way. And on his way
Yeah.
back from the concert, he ran into him and he made I don't friends with them, or they interacted, they socialized.
Okay.
Now, he remembered them appearing youthful and scrawny, and he heard them they heard them discussing a summer camp. Now, he did say that the girl did have a bandana or a scarf covering her head. According to Bonnie's parents, Bonnie would often wear a scarf, um,
Oh,
wear a
okay.
scarf
Yeah, bandana.
over her
Yeah, over the
hair.
top.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Now, a driver of an orange Volkswagen bus with Pennsylvania license plates offered a ride to the three hitchhikers. They would accept, and then a little bit later, he would pick up a fourth hitchhiker
Mm.
who apparently slept the whole time in the back. So he was so stoned that he just slept in the back. Now, on the day in question, Alan said it was very hot, and so the group decided to take a break and cool themselves off in either the Chemung or the Susquehanna River. Now, both of these rivers hide very deceptively strong underwater currents. Even today, it's suggested not to swim in these waters because they are very dangerous. Now, he would recount that he stood approximately 100 feet away from the river's edge as the teenagers entered the water. Suddenly, he heard a scream from the girl and saw her struggling in the river. Reacting swiftly, the young man jumped into the water in an attempt to rescue her. But tragically, the forcefulness of the currents swept both of them around a bend, and he believed to their accidental drowning.
What? And he
Now,
didn't mention that back then. He didn't go and tell anybody that they were drowning in the river.
well, so in the immediate aftermath, his initial response was that of inaction. He decided not to do anything. Okay. He said that as they vanished from his view, he and the driver decided that their options were limited. They were in a very isolated location, and there was really no means to call for help. Now, when
What?
they did return to their vehicle to leave, yeah, they said there was nothing. They really what they said is nothing I can do. He said that when they went to the vehicle to leave, the driver had mentioned that he had intentions of notifying the police from a gas station in Pennsylvania, and that he was planning on being heading there soon. So Alan Smith trusted that the driver would make the necessary report. And so he himself ended up refraining from reporting the incident at all to any law enforcement.
Oh, this is bullshit.
Now, he stated that he was under the influence of marijuana at the time, and so he was reluctant to engage with law enforcement. Okay. It does sound like complete bullshit.
It does. It sounds
But,
like utter crap. This doesn't make sense.
but listen to this. After interviewing several of his longtime friends, they all confirmed that Alan Smith had been talking about this drowning since he returned home from Summer Jam in 1973.
Well, yeah, but Alan Smith is a bit of a knob because he hasn't actually
Oh,
checked with
yeah.
law enforcement that it happened. I would be on the
Right.
phone the first chance I get, whether that guy in the
Mhm.
back was going to do it or not, because the police would want to talk to you, and I'd be very surprised that they didn't come and find you. How are they going to come and find you if you don't give your details to anybody? So he's a bit of an
Right.
idiot for not
No,
contacting.
absolutely.
You know, it
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. I mean, he must have thought that over time. No one's contacted me. There's no way for police to contact me. I wonder what happened to those kids. I wonder if they were okay. What is wrong with
Yeah.
people?
And he just
Man.
kind of moved on with his life, right?
Yeah, I just carry on,
So
forget all about those kids.
now
Wow.
there are some issues with the story though. First off, there was never any report of two teenagers drowning in a river. So all local police, law enforcement agencies in this area were contacted. There were no reports of this at
Okay.
all, right? Second thing, there were no bodies ever recovered from either of these rivers. Okay.
Okay.
Now the Chemung River is a tributary into Susquehanna, so they are intertwined a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, and now based off of his story saying that the driver said that he was heading into Pennsylvania shortly after, the only river he could have been talking about was the Chemung River, because the Susquehanna is
Okay.
all within Pennsylvania. The Chemung River actually is mostly in New York, and then it cuts down into Pennsylvania where it connects with the Susquehanna. So I think he's talking about the Chemung River myself. That's the only thing that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Um, Now, with no bodies recovered, I mean, typically in drowning incidents, we know this, like the human body does accumulate gases over the course of several days, which will cause it to resurface
If it can.
if it can. Yeah, it is rare for two bodies not to surface.
Mm.
It is a occurrence that does remain possible. Bodies could easily become entangled
Yeah.
in underwater debris,
That's
which would
right.
prevent them
Yeah.
from coming to the surface.
Yeah.
The other thing is because these river currents are so strong, it is very possible that the bodies could have been transported to a location much farther than anyone
Yes.
would have anticipated,
Yeah.
resulting in unidentified remains.
Yeah.
Now, this is crazy. So, authorities did examine the county coroner's offices of three of these offices that were situated along the Susquehanna River basin for unidentified bodies. There were none that were located. Okay,
Right.
so
Okay.
so they did check three counties, right? But this left 63 additional counties within this river basin
Yeah. That's
that
right.
went
That they haven't checked.
unexamined.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot to check,
There is.
and they were never. And ultimately, I don't believe they were ever checked.
Well, no, they couldn't even keep their hands on the case file. They're not going to check 63 other counties, are they? Don't be silly.
That's too much work. It's too much work.
I'm so mad. I'm so mad with
Now,
them.
Now, here's the thing. So, in an effort to validate his account, investigators did consider subjecting him to a polygraph examination. However, this step was interrupted by the September 11th terrorist attacks.
Oh,
Because following the attacks, the case investigators that had been on Mitchell and Bonnie's case
yeah.
that had been assigned, they ended up being reassigned,
Yeah.
and this prompted Mitchell and Bonnie's case to once again be relegated to cold storage.
You can
It
understand
went
it. Obviously, you can understand it with the September 11th bombings. You can imagine the work that's going to come from that. So you can understand them being, as a terrorist threat. I can understand that people are getting reassigned from a cold case.
yeah,
So
but it
I
has to be
understand that. It's
absolutely so
sad.
frustrating
Yeah, it's
because you
sad,
fought
but I can
for
understand it.
as a family, you've been waiting for so
Yeah,
long. You've
yeah,
been waiting for what is it, 27, 28 years for
yeah,
something. And you finally
yeah. And
have
once again, it's
something,
been shelved again.
it's been
Yeah,
shelved again. And it's like you
so
have to feel
bad.
like you're close. You have to feel like you're so close
Yeah,
to finding results. Now, with Alan's story, I will say that some of the family members did find acceptance in it, and at least they had some sort of conclusion.
mm,
But not everyone believed it. I mean, I know for one, Mitchell's sister, she did not believe Alan Smith's story at all, and even later on, later investigators would dismiss his story as well as being some just they believed it was implausible, and they didn't believe like that Alan Smith, who had been in the Navy, would refuse to you know go and help two people in distress if they actually had fallen into the
yeah.
river.
It does seem
Now they
strange to me.
Yeah. Now the investigators would take Alan Smith. So Alan was very helpful and he was very much involved in this investigation.
Yeah.
So much to this point where he actually drove to this area and he was taken out by investigators to different places in the river trying to locate where this was, but he was never able to find that location. He was never ever comfortable saying, "Yeah, this is where it happened." So
Hmm.
he's not exactly sure where it happened either. So
No.
that doesn't help because these are long, long rivers. The Susquehanna River is 450 miles long, so it's a big area to search. Um, if it's the Chemung, which makes more sense because they actually would have been driving alongside this river for a big portion of their drive. That's probably a little easier to try to pinpoint a location than the Susquehanna, but unfortunately, they weren't able to do so.
But also he's not local to it, so it's not like it's an area that he
That's
knows.
right.
And, bits of river and a place that you don't actually know probably all look very, very similar.
No, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Like even like looking, I went and I was looking at the map of the Chemung River and trying to figure out where they would have been driving and looking for bends. He says that they went around a bend and he didn't see him anymore. But there's so many
Mm.
bends in this
So many
river,
bends.
and
Yeah, of
there's so many
course.
places they could have stopped that
Yeah.
it's really impossible to say. Okay, this is where I think it would have happened.
Yeah.
Um, because
And this
you
guy's only
have
been
to
there
eliminate
once.
one
He's just
time. Yeah,
he's just been there
exactly.
that one time, so he's not going to remember it, exact.
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause this had been out in the middle of nowhere. If this was like one of
Yeah.
these little towns or villages, he would have remembered, "Oh, we stopped
Of
off in this
course.
little village,
Yeah.
and I remember there was there would have been something to spark
Yeah.
a memory."
Yeah, of
But if
course.
it's out in the middle of nowhere and the only things that you have to see are trees and the river, you're not
Mm.
gonna be able to pinpoint that.
And the fact that the landscape would have changed so much between the time he was there and the time he went back. So it would
No,
have changed so
absolutely.
much.
Absolutely. Now, while Alan Smith's account to some people did seem legitimate, there was uh, another story that came out that made other people just as interested. So in 2013, a Sullivan County detective by the name of Cyrus Barnes, he actually had been assigned this case 2 years prior. So in 2011, he was assigned the case. He received a phone call from a 51-year-old woman who was living in Florida at the time.
Yeah.
Now, the woman's childhood roots trace back to this little town of Wayne, which is roughly 20 miles away from Watkins Glen. Now, she told the detective that she had suspicions about her father's involvement in Mitchell's murder. Now, according to her account, as an 11-year-old girl, she found herself in a local restaurant accompanied by her father. During that
Right.
visit, she approached a boy sitting at a nearby table and asked what his name was. Now, this boy would identify himself as Mitchell, and she had this recollection of him seeming to be in being in discomfort or maybe been really agitated at the time.
Yeah.
Now, according to investigators, the daughter's recollections were notably detailed. She actually had alleged that her father, as well as some other men, had subjugated her as well as some other children to sexual assault. Now, this prompted uh, the detective to enlist the help of both state police and Steuben County Sheriff's Office, where Wayne was located, to intensify this investigation. Now, this collaboration encompassed inquiring excavation equipment, sonar technology, and cadaver sniffing dogs to validate the woman's claims. In a joint um, effort, a team of state and county police undertook excavations at two sites in Wayne. First, the family's nearby cottage, as well as the decommissioned New York State electric and gas power plant, which was adjacent to a private residence. Now, despite this extensive search, these excavations yielded absolutely no discoveries. Now, investigators had hoped to interview the woman's father since they considered him a suspect, but they were advised to consult his attorney. Now, as charges were never officially brought against the father, who actually passed away last year, his identity
Oh,
has remained completely undisclosed.
yeah.
So here we are now. We're 50 years out. I mean, we have two stories. Um, I mean, if these are the two stories that we have to go off of, I think Alan Smith probably is the most intriguing. Um,
Mm.
it seems plausible. I mean, even though it's shitty that he would just let these two drown and just kind of be done with them for 26,
And never
27 years.
asking law enforcement again about it. That doesn't make sense to me. The guy, you said the
Mhm.
guy was in the Navy as well. I mean, he's in the forces. You're telling me he never once thought to contact law enforcement to see, to give over his. I don't believe that. That doesn't make sense. That
Yeah,
doesn't make
it
any
doesn't make
sense to
sense.
me. I don't get it. I
Mm-mm.
don't understand that. I don't think
No,
that's plausible. I don't think that's a plausible explanation.
I think the one thing that everyone has and everyone believes is that something horrible happened to these two teenagers when they left Narrowsburg. Um, Once again, there's no evidence that they ever made it to the concert.
No.
No one heard from them since they left the camp on Friday the 27th. It it who knows what could happen. I mean, it's it's difficult to imagine them being one person overpowering them.
Well, it depends if they've got a
I mean,
gun. The person could
it's
easily
possible
overpower them if
they
they've
do.
got a
Yeah, that's
gun.
true. That's very
Yeah.
true. But
You can
just
easily control
something.
two people with a gun.
Yeah, these two kids, whatever happened to them, they obviously did not deserve, and obviously their families need some sort of closure. Unfortunately, Mitchell and Bonnie's parents, they have all passed away,
Mm.
so they're never going to know what happened to their children. But you still have siblings out there and cousins and maybe nieces and nephews that never got to meet them, but would want to know what happened to them. So
Yeah.
I think this is one of
Ah.
those cases, and I've seen this stated where this is one of those cases where it needs to be out there, and maybe someone has some sort of memory um, about them because it was cold and it went dormant for so long that it just no one thought about it. No one you know remembered it.
I think that's the problem with this case is that nobody did anything for such a long time. So obviously, a lot of the people that were possibly present at that concert that were of driving age at the time, that were adults at the time, are now going to be a lot older or not with us anymore. So you've already lost such a huge pool of potential sightings, potential information. You've lost such a massive great group of people that could have helped with this. And I think the fact that they did nothing for such a long time has completely hampered this case. And it's frustrating for the family because how many potential witnesses, how many potential sightings have they lost because of their inadequate investigation skills?
Yeah,
Too
even
many.
someone that could have picked them up in Narrowsburg could have absolutely no idea that there were
Yeah,
2 teenagers that went missing.
that's right. That's right. And yeah, and it doesn't make it. I think a lot more investigation into this case has to be done. This needs a
Mhm.
whole fresh set of eyes to start right at the beginning again, and to start right. I mean, but they can't, can they? Because they've lost the case files. So there is a lot of
Yeah.
information that's gone. There is, I mean, for all we know, these kids could have had their bodies turn up in a different county that
Yeah.
are unidentified. They could be buried somewhere together, unidentified now. So
Yeah.
that's the frustrating thing for the
I
family, is
mean,
that they could be in a grave somewhere together, and
right.
no one
Think
knows that they're there. And the police
think
forces
of it this
don't
way.
know that, that's them.
Someone who was 20 years old in 1973 would be 70 years old now, right?
70, that's right.
So
Yeah.
so we've already lost how many potential witnesses
Yeah,
because of age,
exactly.
right?
Yeah. Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
right.
there had to have been numerous people that saw 2 teenagers on this day hitchhiking, right?
Mm.
I mean, how many kids
Possibly
on
not.
July
Yeah, possibly not. You probably might not remember them because they're just kids hitchhiking. There's
Right.
nothing sort of
Mhm.
stand out about them. However, had you have put up posters nearer that time
Right.
when they very first went missing, somebody somewhere might have remembered. Now maybe not. They're not going to think about it now because they're like in their
Mhm.
70s. But
Right.
had you have investigated this properly in the beginning, there would have been a lot more chance for you to get credible witnesses for this case.
If their story got out right away, right? And they said, "Hey, 2 teenagers were hitchhiking
Yeah.
in this area." They had a
Yeah.
sign that said Watkins Glen.
Yep.
How many more people would be like, "Oh yeah, I did drive past
I
them
saw them.
on
Yeah.
this day, yeah,
Yeah.
at this time, and this is where they were
Yeah.
at."
Because
But
it's
that didn't get
recent and they
out there.
remember. No. That's right.
Yeah. I mean, because, like, how many people are gonna be standing out on these little small state highways with a sign that says Watkins Glen, right? 155 miles away, small
That's
village. I mean,
crazy.
no one's going to Watkins Glen. Sorry if you're from Watkins Glen, but no one's going to Watkins Glen, except for racing, I guess, but besides that, no one's going to Watkins Glen. So,
Oh,
unfortunately, the case is still out there, and I mean, it seems to be they're still investigating when things pop up, but I I can't imagine this is a high priority case for anyone.
no. And that's really, really sad.
No, it is. Very sad.
It's I just I just don't
I
understand.
can tell you.
I'm just looking to see, and there's the problem is it's too little, too late. That's what this case is. It's too little, too
Mhm.
late. It's too late now to say I'm sorry. It's too late now to say we didn't do our jobs properly, because they are responsible for this case not getting anywhere. That's the truth of it. And unfortunately, because
Yeah.
multiple agencies didn't do their job properly, these poor families are unlikely, but I say that they're unlikely, but I tell you what, that I have hope for cases like this. I have hope that there's that one person, just that one person out there that will remember something, that would just throw a case wide open. Just one little snippet
Mhm.
of information. And so our job, and the job of other people and people now generally, is to spread this case as far and as wide as you can. The pictures of the kids, get them out there, get them on the internet, get them on the news stations, get them in the newspapers, get them in your local town letters that you all get out, your little newsletters that the towns do. Get these kids photos everywhere, because all it takes is one person. It's no good to look at a cold case and say, well, it's 50 years ago, we might as well give up now. It's not good enough. They were failed multiple
Yeah.
times. And so now is the time to get that information out there. Just do it. It doesn't hurt. It can't hamper the case. All it can do is help. The
Right.
more eyes, the more ears, the more chance there is that these families are going to get some kind of resolution to this.
Yeah, they need something. I mean, someone knows something, someone's heard something. I mean, we say this a lot of times, right? Someone's heard something about this. There has to be rumors. I said this how many times? These are small towns.
Yeah.
especially in Narrowsburg. Someone knows something, or someone has heard something. And
Even if they don't realize they know something, someone knows information that will help this
mhm,
case.
yeah. So it's crazy. So, I mean, hopefully something comes out from this. I mean, it's been 50 years, and there's been much more coverage of it recently. So
So it's
hopefully
our
some
jobs.
information.
It's that's our job now. That's everybody's job now. It's everyone's responsibility. Pull together as a human race and spread this as far as you can. Have we got pictures of these kids, yeah? Okay, so
We
we'll put it
do,
on our
yes.
social medias, we'll put it on our website, we'll put it everywhere we can, and all we ask you to do is just share it. Share it, get your friends to share it, get your family to share it. Think of it as
Mhm.
if this was your loved one. What would you want? It takes nothing. It costs nothing to press a button to share. That,
Yep.
just one person in your friends list could just blow this case wide open. It means nothing to you to just share and press a button. Just do it. Just do it. It takes 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Let's just get
Yeah.
these kids' pictures out there as far as wide as we can.
There was a great website that was created. It's so weird. I'm going to say a long time ago, because it was 2008, called mitchelandbonnie.com. Mitchel is Mitchel. So mitchelandbonnie.com, which just has just a little bit of information on them. A lot of pictures. Most interesting is there's an area where people can share their thoughts. So even you go through the names, and there's definitely people that were friends with them. The name Stuart Carton, who I mentioned a few times, he's posted on there. He's made posts and has things to say. So you definitely check that out. A lot of pictures up there that you can take a look at. And um, yeah, we just this just needs to be spread. The story of Bonnie and Mitchell needs to be out there, and hopefully something will come from this.
I have the
So
police helicopter circling over my house at the moment. So I'm muting my microphone this end because they've been circling over for a while and they're getting
what did
louder
you
because I think they're
do?
getting lower. Yeah, they're coming to find me. But yeah, I can see them outside. So they're obviously looking for something. Yeah, it's either that or it's an air ambulance, but I think it's actually the police helicopter but they're very loud. So I'm quite surprised you haven't heard it yet. You probably have in the
No, I
background.
can't hear it all.
If you listen back to this, you'll probably be able to hear the rumbling because it's going around in circles. It goes quiet and it comes back
Yeah.
around again. It's really, really
Oh,
loud.
that's funny.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Yes, we'll share everything on our socials. If you can do the same, and I'm sure the family of these guys would really, really appreciate it. So please do that. We would be very, very grateful. So now at the end of our show, we like to do a small segment which we like to call the dumb criminal.
Hey, dum dum head, you's a real jackass.
Oh, and this one is, well, actually, no, this isn't a jackass portion. This one is a 10-year-old boy, a little boy who is playing with his
Oh.
father's handcuffs on Father's Day. And the little boy runs in to dad
Oh.
and he handcuffs himself to his daddy, a guy called William Klein Jr. But
Okay,
whilst he
that's
was
cute.
playing, yeah, he lost the keys. So William's thinking,
Oh,
God
no.
damn, the kid's lost the keys. Now we're
Mhm.
stuck together. What do we do? So he calls the local police in Des Moines in Iowa to ask them if they might be able to help him get the cuffs off. So, as per
Yeah.
usual routine, the police ran Klein through the database and found that he
Oh,
had 2 arrest
no.
warrants outstanding. So, shortly after, they actually cuffed him for real this time after uncuffing him from his
Oh.
son.
They should
So,
have
like, I
deputized the
was
son
thinking,
right on the spot, right?
they should have given the son a badge or something and said, "Well done, you're taking daddy away now because of your game. You arrested daddy.
No.
Well done. You're part of the team."
Oh,
I know,
no.
but that poor kid must have felt awful because he doesn't understand, does he? He's 10 years old. I mean, that's
No.
quite sad. I hope they pulled dad away from the kid and did that. I hope they didn't do it in
Yeah.
front. I'm sure they wouldn't have done, but I hope they didn't do it in front of the kid because that kid must have felt absolutely horrific. But
They're gonna bust in the door with guns
yeah,
drawn. Get on the
yeah.
ground.
If you've got prior convictions outstanding still, then please don't do that. Well, no, do it. Yeah, do it. Get handcuffed to your
Do
kids.
it.
Why
Could you
not?
imagine, like, we got these cuffs for mommy and daddy fun time, and
Oh yeah,
now
yeah.
here we are.
Pink fluffy cuffs. Well, thank you for this week's episode. We will be back next week with another episode. It'll be my episode next week. So it'll probably be something old. It'll probably be something UK based. So if that's your thing, we will see you here next week. So for now, be nice.
And bye.